Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Mythology Abridged, where I mumble my way through stories from the past and explain them poorly and then say something about them and mispronounce names and other stuff. So welcome. I am coming to you this time from Haifa, the city of Haifa. I seem to be doing travel. Everybody's away from home. Traveling squad. Fun stuff. I am in Haifa for the holidays. I technically came to visit my parents, but they went to Sweden. So I am home alone. So I'm currently sitting in my childhood bedroom, cringing at my teenage self. Yeah. So today, I will be splaining, telling you, I don't even know what this is. I don't know if I'm explaining mythology, if I'm reading it, if I'm... who gives a fuck? Today we will be talking about my favorite myth of all time. Woo! The cursing of the men of Ulster. So maybe I should start. Of course. I love Irish mythology, and yet I can pronounce nothing. The use of letters is over the top, and no matter how many times I've tried to learn the rules, I can't. I just can't, man. So, all you Irish peeps, you may get angry, and yeah, you can correct me. Please correct me, please. I really tried. I wrote down like phonetic ways to pronounce shit. Anyway, let's go for this. Okay, so we are placed. The setting is in Ulster, which is one of the counties or regions, or it's not like a modern county, but like a region in Ireland. And there was once a farmer in Ulster. He was named Crandon, and he was a good man. But his wife died, which is how all things start, right? All the Disney movies, mother's dead. That's how all good stories start. So his wife has died, and he has 3 young children, and he doesn't know how to take care of them. Which, he could learn. He could take care of them. Anyway, his house is in disarray, and he can't keep everything up, and he has to go and work in the fields. And he doesn't know what to do with the kids because he has to be outside all day. And he could take them with him. It's good for kids to be outside. Good for them, out in the open air. One day he came home from work and opened the door and expected the house, of course, as it usually is, to be in disarray. But it was not. It was absolutely organized. All the kids were clean and quiet, and the house, all the sheets were folded, and there was food, and there was no dust anywhere. And near the fire, a woman was sitting, and she was cooking dinner. The woman says that her name is Macha, and she has decided that she will be his wife. Crandon's all like, yeah, okay, this is really cool. I will take you as a wife. He can't say no. So Macha was a perfect wife. She kept the house clean and the children happy, and she took care of Crundon and the household and everything around. Crundon secretly knew, um, that she was a woman of the other world. And she moved very swiftly, and her feet barely touched the ground. And but he never said anything about it because he knew that, can't come up to a woman and go, "Hey, you a fairy?" Um, Maybe you can. You can probably, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to disrupt her, which is nice, I guess. And one day there is a large fair, and like a farmer's market, and all the farmers go, and the king of Ulster is also there, and he is celebrating some. Actually, it varies from different sources. One source says that he's celebrating a new team of chariot horses, which goes nice with the story, but otherwise, he just has horses and he's around because he's the king. So before Crundon leaves to go, Macha tells him that he shouldn't speak of her, and he shouldn't boast of her, and he shouldn't say anything, even if she knows that he's seen her do some remarkable things, but he shouldn't say anything about it because it would bring a great disaster down upon them. And he promised that he would not, and he left for the king's feast, or fair, or a big gathering, a very large gathering. And Crundon goes to the market, and there's food and drink, and there's a lot of people, and all the men are boasting about how beautiful their wives are, and he keeps his mouth shut because his wife told him to, and also because he knows that you do not measure a woman's worth just by the way you look. Preach. What the fuck am I doing? And the men, they boast about how clean their houses are and how their wives are the best cooks, and Crundon is good, and he bites his tongue and he doesn't say anything. But then the king starts boasting that there is no creature in all of Ireland that can run faster than his horses. And our boy couldn't keep his mouth shut. He just could not. And he says very excitingly that his wife is so swift that she could beat the king's horses in a race. The king was like, yo, farmer guy, that's a lot to say. Yeah, you can't just say those kind of things. So he has all his guards seize the farmer, and they demand that the fast wife, be brought forward. And if she didn't come to prove his statement, then he would die. So there are men sent to Crundon's house, and Macha opens the door, and the men see that she is very pregnant. Very pregnant. And they told her what her husband said, and she's like, "Oh, shit. What an idiot. I married an idiot." And she goes, "Oh, well, she's gonna die if I don't do it, then yeah, fine, whatever. But you can see that I'm like fucking pregnant, right?" And she comes before the king, and she begs him to reconsider because she's really pregnant. And she asks him to postpone the race, but he's like, he's been sitting around near his horses and brooding over the insult, and he's like, nope, Absolutely not. You will erase me now. And so Macha turns to all the warriors of Ulster, were also called the Red Branch, and she begs them that they are strong warriors and that they can help her. They can they they can tell the king that this is a little whack, and she is like about to give birth like any day now, and she reminds them that each of them was born of a woman, and it is not right for them to put her in this position. But none of them stepped forward. None would tell the king. Oh shit, my phone. Would none would plead with the king. They had been drinking, and they were eager to see the race. Everybody wants a fight, a race. Everyone wants to see something going on. And so nothing is done. And very pregnant Macha has to race the king's horses. So the race is held on a large grass field, and there was no stones or uneven ground that could trip the horses. And all the men of Ulster gathered to watch as the king and Macha raced. The king's horses, they run super fast. They're like the best horses in the land. Very fast. But as fast as they run, Macha runs faster because she is magic. She outpaced the wind itself, and her feet seemed to barely touch the ground. But as she ran, she started feeling something weird, and she was about to give birth. So she starts to scream as she's running and beating the king's horses, and everyone who is looking and hearing her scream is like, guys, this isn't so funny anymore, is it? This isn't that entertaining. And while she's screaming in agony, she gets to the end, and she crosses the finish line before the horses, like a lot before them. And she collapses onto the grass, and in a rush of blood, 2 twins are born. And she gathers her twins, which in some cases, I've read in some places that they're dead, and they're still born, and other places that they're not. But it's kind of not that important to the main thing of the story. As we will see in a minute, the story is sort of like an explanatory myth. It explains stuff. So Macha gathers her twins and turns to the warriors of Ulster, and she curses them. Thus comes the name of the video, The Cursing of the Men of Ulster. Dum, dum, dum. Because they had failed to use their strength to defend her in her time of need, she declared that their strength would be useless to them. Whenever they needed it most, their strength would desert them, and for 9 days and 9 nights they would endure the pains of a woman in childbirth, and the curse would last for 9 generations. Each fighting man, as soon as he was old enough to grow a beard, would come under this curse. And with that, she gathered her twins and leaped over the heads of those who were watching and ran off, never to be seen again. And from that day, the fort and the grass field is called Evan Macha, the twins of Macha. So, that is it. It's an awesome story, isn't it? It's fucking awesome. I love it. So this tale, as we said, is a explanatory tale. It explains the name of the area, the meaning of the name Evan Macha, which is still called that. and it explains the name of the place. So it's a place name explanatory tale. There's like a professional word for that, like a real term. But I'm only on my first coffee, so and that's too much to ask. And it also explains why none of the Ulstermen, except for Cuchulainn, I don't know if that's probably not pronouncing that correctly, because it's written like Chuchulin, which is hilarious. But it explains why none of the Ulstermen, except for Cuchulainn, intervened during the invasion of Ulster and the cattle raid of Cooley. And Irish myth has a lot of cattle, lots of cattle. We'll get to the cattle. There's everything is about cows. And it also is like explaining that the tale is also like explaining, except for the place name and why the men of Ulster couldn't defend themselves and resist invasion. It also shows that Macha, who is sort of like a goddess of land and stuff, can also be vengeful if she's disrespected, and how a bad king leads to a disaster, which we all know is true because we have all read Game of Thrones. And bad kings lead to disasters, but also semi-competent kings can lead to disasters. And if the king is okay, then maybe their hand or their helpers or their wives or their children, they can lead to disaster. Everything can lead to disaster. I'm very hopeful today. And okay, I think I have mumbled through a story. I have mumbled. Great. So I think I'm done now. Bye.